Hey guys, it's Jenny. In this audio, I'm taking another deep dive into Beom-seok's character from Weak Hero. If you want to check out my previous analysis of him, I've left all the video URLs in the description below. Before I really get into this, I want to make one thing super clear. I'm not defending the violence Beom-seok commits in episode 7. What he does to Suho is genuinely unforgivable. But I have such a soft spot for this character. There's something about Beom-seok that hits differently than Suho or Si-eun. Maybe it's because he resembles people we actually see in real life, which makes him feel more real in some ways. I don't know if you feel the same way. So let's talk about Beom-seok's psychology and why his character arc is so devastating. What strikes me most is how Beom-seok, despite physically being 16, emotionally operates like a much younger child. His abusive home environment stunted his emotional development in really profound ways. When you rewatch the series, you notice all these childlike behaviors, how desperately he seeks validation, his inability to foresee consequences, the way he swings from total admiration of Suho to violent rejection without middle ground. That scene in episode 7 where he holds Suho's fingers after he's collapsed in the ring, God, it destroys me every time. It's like watching a small child in a state of panic after losing someone who was incredibly important to him. Hongkyung's performance in that moment is just, wow. And that scene after Suho collapses, of course, everyone was shocked. Woo-young, Jong-chan, Tae-hoon. But none of them attempted CPR or tried to help Suho. Jong-chan and Tae-hoon were actually trying to run away. But Beom-seok? He just sat there like a child, holding Suho's gloved hand and couldn't let go. That moment absolutely guts me because you see this flash of vulnerability that reveals how he's still just a small child who hasn't fully developed. I think what makes Beom-seok's story so tragic is that he literally never learned how to regulate his emotions. Every developmental milestone most kids naturally hit, he missed. And because everything he did at home was treated as wrong, he never developed that internal compass that helps us assess our own behavior. He was constantly looking to others to define his worth. What kills me is how close he came to finding stability with Si-eun and Suho. But then all these random chance events kept happening that pushed him back into destructive patterns, meeting his old bullies at the karaoke room, getting caught up with Gil-soo, crossing paths with Jong-chan at exactly his most vulnerable moment. It's like watching someone who can't swim trying to stay afloat, and every time they're about to reach the edge, a new wave pushes them further out. And here's the most heartbreaking part. It wasn't Suho and Si-eun's responsibility to fix him. They couldn't have possibly known what he needed. They were just teenagers themselves trying to be his friends. Si-eun gave him understanding in his own way. And Suho tried to tolerate Beom-seok's acting up until the very end. But Beom-seok's trauma was way too deep for any friendship to heal alone. In this weirdly tragic way, their caring about him is exactly how they ended up losing him. The more they included him and showed him kindness, the more catastrophic it felt to him when he perceived any hint of exclusion. When he saw Suho's closeness with Yonggi, or thought Si-eun was taking Suho's attention, these totally normal friendship dynamics became existential threats through his traumatized perspective. I always think about that moment when we finally see Beom-seok register real regret, but only after he's already crossed that irreversible line with Suho. His delayed emotional processing shows so clearly how trauma messes with your ability to predict consequences. He can only understand what he's done after it's too late. The way the show portrays this gives us such complex emotions as viewers. We can understand Beom-seok's motivations while still finding his actions completely unforgivable. We can feel empathy for his suffering while acknowledging the destruction he causes. When he repeatedly puts Suho in dangerous situations, it goes way beyond just a moment of rage or poor judgment. It reveals something fundamentally broken in how he processes rejection. What do you guys think? Are there moments with Beom-seok that particularly stood out to you? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious about how others see his character. I'll be back with more Weak Hero analysis soon. Thanks for listening.